welcome to Bulls in Red. It's the international break, still going on, but it's coming to a close, so we're going back to Bundesliga football, something we kind of missed. But during the international break, we have the opportunity to look at a couple of other things, so these items we will discuss first. And of course, we will have a look ahead at our first match after the dreaded international break, because our team is traveling to Mainz. And here we are again, Bulls in Red, your football podcast for RB Leipzig, about RB Leipzig. We're at home in Leipzig, and you can listen to us from wherever you are on this planet. Well, it's a beautiful night. We got full moon, and hopefully you don't feel like a werewolf, Richard. Or do you?
No, never feel like that. I'm a very peaceful guy unless my favorite club's losing. But the moon doesn't affect me at all.
That's great. Remember those old movies? I used to be so frightened. I used to be so scared. Well, it's the international break. It's coming to a close. And as we discussed in our last episode, we had two casualties in that sense already, with Benny Henrichs and David Raum, who's out for the whole calendar year. But we'll come to that a little bit later. But first of all, let's have a little run around across or through various of topics. And I picked them up in several newspapers. And one of them is quite interesting because, this week has been exceptional, I think. And the last couple of days as well, especially with the news that the crowd is taking over the coach position of the England national team with Thomas Tuchel moving back to the island, which is absolutely great. I think from a German perspective, we're actually proud that we have a German manager coaching or managing such a football nation. So it is actually quite positive. But on the other hand, we also seen the normal one going to the dark side. But I want to talk about the forgotten one, Timo Werner. I think everybody remembers Timo Werner has been on loan with Tottenham Hotspur since January this year. And do you remember that he used to be playing for the German national team last time in March 2023? I think he had 57 caps and he scored 24 times. But at the moment, Julian Nagelsmann doesn't see him at all. And it's a shame because his move was intended to England, was intended to improve his position, his standing with the Julian Nagelsmann to get back into the national squad. But it doesn't look very likely at the moment. Timo Werner hasn't actually managed to get into the starting 11 on a regular basis. He's scored 2 goals so far, and that's dating back to March this year. And one thing he has maintained, that is his reputation of being a Mr. Chancentod. You could translate that into chance killer. That just means he squanders excellent chances to score on a regular basis. And we have a latest example. Before the international break, Tottenham Hotspurs were playing Brighton. They did win 3-0, but hey, 2 open goal opportunities for Timo Werner. And he didn't convert them. So that is a shame. So you do wonder what's going to happen with him. And I kind of feel sorry for him because it's sort of the same story that he had in Leipzig at the end. Remember we were wishing him well and hope that his position improves. But the manager of Tottenham Hotspur is Ange, and I'm totally mispronounced that name, Postecoglou, and he's not Greek. He's Australian, by the way. He hasn't lost faith in Timo, so that's a good thing. And he believes that there's a fine line between glory and being labeled as Mr. Chancentod, for example. And he also believes that it doesn't take much for Timo to turn things around. And he's so confident because he refers to another player in his squad. There is a Welsh national player, Brennan Johnson. And up to the point of 2 weeks ago, he was in a similar position and now has gone back to a very good form and is a very important part of the team. Ange also refers to Timo's positive contribution to the team when he's playing, and he's helping to create chances. That seems to happen, but it doesn't seem to be good enough that he starts all the time. He's usually subbed in. and does get its opportunities, but it kind of takes me back to his last months or half a year in Leipzig, and there were identical scenes where it was in front of goal, was an open goal opportunity, and something went wrong. Either he didn't score, he didn't convert, or there was a big hole in the grass in the ground, and the ball went over the goal. Always something else. But, if Timo doesn't improve vastly, I don't think that Tottenham Hotspur will take the advantage of the buying option, and it seems to be set at 10 million euros, so they would have to pay 10 million euros next summer. And I don't think Julian Nagelsmann will consider him because he's got too many very good alternatives, as we see now in the international break as well. And it might even be hard for Benny Henrichs to get back in that. That's just my opinion. David Raum will come back. I think he's got a very good chance if he comes back from injury. Quite strong. Okay, so we'll think it into the next calendar year. But Timo, I'm not sure if this is really going to work out. But we keep our fingers crossed. This is just to let you know how Timo's doing in England, in the EPL. I'm sure, Richard, you join me in wishing him best of luck.
Of course, yeah. But unfortunately, I don't believe in him anymore. I told you the season before, when he was still on our squad before he transferred to Tottenham, actually, that I am a Timo Werner believer. And I was a really long time, but, numbers don't lie usually. And his numbers just don't look good. And he's now 28 years already old and...
Best ager.
Best ager, yeah. But if you look where he might have had his prime, it was in his early 20s when he joined us. He was 21, 22, 23 years old when he scored double digits every season. And just somehow he lost his mojo. And I doubt that he could find it back anytime in his career. I hope I'm wrong. I hope he proves me wrong someday. I wish him all the best. But honestly, I think he's washed.
Okay, we will see. Only time will tell. But it's great that, you give him all the support mentally. Do you know, I'd like to turn our attention to somebody else. And I do wonder what kind of crime he has committed, because I'm talking about Eljif Elmas. He's 25 and he arrived in Leipzig in January 24. And RB Leipzig paid a handsome sum of money, 25 million to Neapel to get him to Leipzig. And I guess it was a replacement for Forsberg at the time as well, went off to the Big Apple. And I read that Rose actually wanted him to come to Leipzig, to have him in the squad. And before the transfer in the winter, or already in the summer, the former sporting director, Max Ebel, already reached out to them. And they had almost discussions as well. They also met him in Italy and Napoli as well. So when he arrived, okay, I remember we kind of expected him to ease in gently, but after a while we expected him to start on a regular basis. But he only got 16 appearances last season, and that totaled into 274 minutes. And that's not the full thing either. And I think only once he was part of the starting 11, and he played for only one half. But he made a good impression, I'll remember. But this year is even worse. It's only 7 minutes in the Champions League and 0 minutes in the Bundesliga. So Marco Rose has overseen him totally and completely. But on his position, there is quite a bit of hefty competition. If he wants to play alongside Xavi with Baumgartner and Nusa, you also have two younger players in the wings as well, who could challenge him at some point. But when Marco Rose is quoted, he just demands, full dedication of Elmas. He needs to continue, and when he gets a chance to play, he bloody hell needs to use it. He needs to perform. And it reminds me of what you said about Timo Werner some point in last season, is that it's his personal cup final. It's his personal final to succeed and get back into the squad. And that's what Elmas needs to do. But I could imagine that this is quite difficult. If you don't play on a regular basis, you don't get to some sort of rhythm or flow. And how the heck are you going to be in that position, the last 5, 6, 7 minutes of a match, to convince your head coach, your coach, to be in the starting 11? I think it's near to impossible unless, score 2 goals just like that out of the blue. So I'm not really sure how this is going to work out with him. It's a difficult decision for him. Is it difficult for the team? I don't know. But if he can't keep his spirits up, he's not going to be interested in playing anyways. So we need to watch out and see if RB Leipzig and Elmas part ways maybe in the winter. You don't know. Maybe he's loaned out and maybe he's sold. We will see. I hope not. I hope he does come back. I hope there is a way back into, well, what do you mean back? There is a way into the squad, full stop, because we haven't really seen him. Because I'm really curious about what he can bring to the table and what we've seen versus Darmstadt when he was a starter. It was only a glimpse. I would love to see more. I'm not sure how you feel about this, Richard, but I think you agree.
Yeah, pretty much this. I enjoyed him. I enjoyed watching him when he started versus Darmstadt. You named it. It was a very, very solid performance in the very best way. I can say that. And I think the injury that he suffered, obviously, because he was taken off after 45 minutes, somehow was the killer in his upswing he might have had back in those days. And you named it, the competition in his position or in the position group he's able to play is very strong, even stronger now with Nusa and Vermeeren joining the squad. And to be honest, my honest opinion is I don't see any future of him in Leipzig. And I feel sad because, he just celebrated his 25th birthday a few weeks ago, a very sad birthday, since he's not able to do what he is very likely loving to do, so playing football on a professional level in full stadiums. So I expect him to go very likely back to Italy. So obviously, he enjoyed playing there, though he wasn't the leader of the Napoli squad, and he wasn't a goal scorer on a regular basis. But he has always had his impact when he started and when he came from the bench. And so it seems like this league or this Italian playing style in the league fits him more. And I wouldn't be surprised if we are going to see him at Fiorentina or maybe Genoa, and then we will see him exploding again. So pretty much like Ante Rebic or something. Sometimes you have players, but it just seems like a misunderstanding, and they're changing and you're parting ways, and they're changing clubs and they're changing leagues, and all of a sudden they're starting to perform well again. Or maybe Lookman too, right? It was just not the right fit when he was at Leipzig, but now at Bergamo since a few years. Wow, impressive what he's doing. And yeah, to me it seems like Elmas is the same way. So maybe it's better to part ways sooner than later.
Last 6 caps for the national team of, is it in English, North Macedonia?
I think it's North Macedonia.
Yeah, Macedonia.
Sure, because Macedonia is this region in Greece.
Oh my gosh, I get killed.
We can cut us out.
Nobody's listening to us in Greece, I hope. Anyway, in his national team, he has appeared in the last 6 matches always for the full 90 minutes, and the last 2 matches during the current international break. He appeared in those 2 matches. He had a goal and he had an assist, so he can clearly play football. He can clearly have an impact, and I kind of wonder if we're missing out on something here. I guess we will see. We will see what time will bring, but I share your feelings as well, and looking forward. I'm not too optimistic. But let's talk about something else. And I was wondering if Pete Gulasci has RB Leipzig goalies for breakfast, because nobody seems to get him out of the hole, which is not a problem for me. But remember, we had this famous young talent from Genk coming to us in the summer. And actually, we bought him earlier and we loaned him out to Genk. And looking at that, there were 3 predecessors to Martin van der Voort. Do you remember Ivan Vogo? I think he played for us for 5 years and didn't really manage to get past Pete Gulasci. And Josep Martinez, he was playing a couple of times and he wasn't bad, but equally, he had to leave. And of course, Janis Blasic was there for that long stint when Pete was injured. But as soon as he got called up to the German national team, that was his destiny. He had to leave, and now he's equally shaky at Red Bull, because they are Red Bull Salzburg. almost said Rasenballsport Salzburg. That would have been a first. So these are 3 goalies which had to, or kind of left, or which left RB Leipzig. So it seems to me that Pete Gulasci is actually having them for breakfast. But Martin van der Voort, I think they actually got him on board. He's 21, he's young, he's a really good talent. He played all the time for Genk, of course. He was the undisputed number 1. And now it's a complete change of scenery for him. He did have very good stints, so he made a good impression during the preseason and some of the matches and in training sessions as well. But it must be really hard for him not to be the number 1. And do you remember that Pete Gulasci actually also said at the beginning of the season that it would make sense to have some sort of rotation, even, in goal as well. But not with Marco Rose at the time. And, if you look at numbers, before you said numbers don't lie, Marco is right. Marco knows best. Because if you go by these numbers and the percentage of 71% of clear chances that Pete Gulasci actually saves or kills, that is the best value in the league. So he's ranked top of the league in that category. Why do we need a change? And if you look ahead versus Mainz, he needs to go back in goal. And versus Liverpool, you definitely need Pete Gulasci in there. Although Schopperschlein knows him. So that's the thing. I think Martin van der Voort shouldn't despair. He just need to bide his time at the moment and remain professional, and be there. Be there when he's needed, because things can change so quickly. And we've seen that with Pete Gulasci. Unfortunately, got injured, of course. But then, Pete Gulasci, during his time when he was sort of a backup goalie and Blaswich was still in goal, he remained very professional. He said he's ready for that time when he's needed. And boy, has he been ready. I didn't think he would come back that strong, but at the moment, it looks really good. But if you look at the long run and long term, I do believe it's not going to be very long until Martin van der Voort is going to replace Gulasci. And he's going to be the new number 1, maybe with Pete as a backup. But right now, it's Pete who's having goalies for breakfast. We will see how this is going to pan out.
Yeah, it could not have started worse for Van der Voort, since Pete Gulasci is outperforming the league and outperforming himself from the last seasons in terms of save percentage. You named it, 92% right now, 5 clean sheets. Okay, so he ain't got no point at all to make a case from whatever to replace him. And there will be setbacks, no doubt about it. I don't want to say that, hey, we will see the old Pete, the Calamity Pete or something like that. He never has been that. But there will be setbacks back to his normal level. And I think Van der Voort will show some patience and professional behavior. And I think if he is aware of the situation he is in, he will see and accept that this is not the point to make some statements like, okay, I'm a 10 million euro goalkeeper and I want to play. Well, let's be professional and you will get your chance. And sometimes, sometimes it's faster than you see it coming. One bad pass from Timo Werner and season is over. Yeah, right. You know what I mean. This pass versus Celtic, I was in the stands back in those days, and Gulasci torn his ACL.
It looked dreadful.
And that time, then Blaswich had to shine, and I don't want to jinx something like that. Okay, but please stay healthy. But patience is the key here for our young keeper. And do you know some trivia question I would like to ask?
I was dying to get a sort of question like this from you, because I've been missing that. So okay, come on, hit me.
Be prepared. Buckle up. What was the last Bundesliga match Pete Gulasci lost, and when?
Bloody hell. Stuttgart?
Bloody hell. No. It was
usually it's Stuttgart. Come on.
It wasn't. So, okay, it's been a while. So, because he injured and he didn't play that much in last season because he needed to come back. But it's over 2 years ago. It was the 17th of September, the away game at Mönchengladbach, where we lost 0-3, and still he managed to get a 70% save percentage in that game. Wow. So he prevented from getting it worse. So that was the last time Pete Gulasci lost a Bundesliga match, so 20 consecutive matches without a loss with Pete Gulasci in the goal. So if you need one more reason not to replace him, he is one.
Okay. But to be fair, I haven't heard anything from or about Martin that he is Van der Voort, that he is not satisfied, that he's angry, and that he's kind of trying to push via social media to get into the squad. You know, a couple of years ago, remember Benny Henrichs? There was a strange scene where a couple of things like that happened, or it wasn't even Forsberg that his wife kind of pitched in as well. None of that. So I believe he's going to be very professional, and time is on his side, to be honest. And he will not lose his abilities, and he will shine, and he might even be bigger than Gulasci. You know, I have a lot of hope for this guy. Okay, I've never seen him playing, but it's just the vibes that I'm getting here and the trust into the scouting team of RB Leipzig.
And he's still young. He's only 22 years. This is no age for a goalkeeper.
Exactly. Do you know what? I like to turn our focus now to a true German stereotype. And it's not just, reserving seats on the sunbed with a towel. I never did that. I don't know why. All the English asked me about it, and I said, I'm really bad at this. No, it's to be overcritical. We like to complain, even if there is nothing to complain, or little. But we always find the hair in the soup. I'm not sure if I translated it literally, because in German we say, das Haar in der Suppe finden. And if we look at RB Leipzig's start, it's the best start ever. 14 points, record-breaking points. We never had that before at this point. And we're sitting at the top of the Bundesliga. Okay, Bayern Munich has the better goal difference. So that's why they're sitting above us at the moment. We only conceded 2 goals. So I'm not sure if that's the best defense. Probably is. Yeah, probably is. But, we have this newspaper called Bild. Bild is the yellow press in Germany, or part of the yellow press. Definitely the biggest newspaper. It's like the Sun or the Daily Mail in the UK. Well, they have some bones to pick, They can still find some things they can point out for improvement, and they might have a point there. So let's go through them. It's your favorite word, apart from cohesion. It's efficiency. It's efficiency. They only scored 9 goals. And that's below the Bundesliga average, because all the teams have scored, on average, 10 goals. We only scored 9, and we're sitting almost at the top. Well, I think this goes by wasting a lot of chances. So real big, open, clear opportunities. And they come up with the number that RB Leipzig had 16 clear chances and only converted 3. So that is supposedly 16th in the league out of 18. That's relegation. If that was the main criteria. But I think we can agree, Richard, that this needs to improve. It does need to improve. Sometimes it's unlucky when you hit the woodwork, or the aluminium work, so to speak. But it needs to improve. Another thing they looked at is set pieces, especially corners. And apparently, RB Leipzig had so far, it was very effective last year. And I do remember that it wasn't so bad, because according to them, RB Leipzig scored 17 times after corner kicks. And, I always think of Willi Orban when he sneaks in, it gets really dangerous. But so far we've had 28 corners and nothing had happened. And this is also my impression when I watch RB Leipzig, especially in our own stadium. It's harmless, might as well give the ball away, because nothing's going to happen here. And now David Raum's out, so Xavi will have to take the corners, I suppose. Are we missing Danny Olmo? Is it Danny Olmo who gave us the extra edge? I don't know. But they also if you look at set pieces, you also have to look at free kicks. They don't work great either. They feel kind of harmless as well. So I'm not sure if they, have like trick plays like the Detroit Lions at Dallas last weekend, and it just doesn't work, or we just forgotten how to do this. Now they also looked at how many times the opposition had the ball in our penalty box and were able to do headers towards Pete Gulasci. It was 22 times, which is quite a lot, but it seems that Pete Gulasci saved all of them. But how much is this going to work out for? How much are we going to be able to keep those out, or Pete is going to keep them out? On the other hand, Lücke, Füllkrug, he's not in the Bundesliga anymore. So we don't have to fear him anymore. And I'm not sure if the EPL has to fear him, but that's a different story. Of course, he joined the Hammers this summer. And your favorite, my favorite, Laufbereitschaft. Let me translate this into willingness to run, or covering ground running the distance where our team is doing that. Apparently last season it was 116 kilometers per match. This time, right now, it's 113. We're ranked 12th. They're not really explaining why this is something to improve, and it doesn't add to, being more successful? Question mark, because we're pretty successful at the moment. But I guess they would like to see them running a lot more and get back to this number as well. But I know we discussed this in length, and I did remember that, 1. FC Köln was top in that category last year and still got relegated. So I just let that stand. Do you wish to comment on this? I just thought it's very interesting how us Germans like to be overcritical and find hair in the soup.
Well, yeah, it's typical German.
And we're damn good at it.
Yeah, it's our, our KPI. Yeah, you can it's our key performance indicator. Okay, if we're last in any category worldwide, not in this one, lads. So yeah, I would like to. I enjoyed it because unfortunately I didn't read this article you were
it's the Bild-Zeitung
according to. So usually I don't read the Bild-Zeitung, but I do check anytime, a few times a day, Bild.de. I have to admit, okay. Because I read any kind of press, yellow press.
You like big letters,
Yeah, it's easier to understand if the sentences are short. What they obviously did is they tried to prove what they're writing with some numbers, and I like that.
Oh yeah.
So because it's you can prove anything with numbers, and the opposite too. So that's what I would like. What I like doing so much. But it seems like, and you named it too, that the numbers and the outcome, it's often just coincidence and not correlation. So, we need to improve in some stats and some departments. It's clear and obvious that we have to shoot more. We talked about that because I would like to pay another €3 into the Phrasenschwein, but you miss any chance you don't take. Okay, it's an old hockey, old hockey, Spruch, an old hockey,
phrase.
I don't know what's in English. Fair phrase, thank you. Yeah, but I think you can just translate it to football. It works as well. Yeah, but nothing to add to this topic from me. Should we move on to the Mainz 05 preview, or do you have something else in stock?
But before we do, I would like to talk about one more thing which leads us nicely to our preview to our little trip to Mainz. And that is that huge question that was discussed also in the Bild-Zeitung. Who's going to replace David Raum? Because David Raum, unfortunately, he's going to be out for the rest of the calendar year. I mean, that is a lot worse than I thought, to be honest. And I'm sorry, RB Leipzig, those images on Twitter or ex-Twitter showing David Raum after an successful operation surgery on crutches doesn't really help. It doesn't, but it's better than him being in the hospital bed. So yeah, I grant that to you. Anyway, so he's going to be out. So who's going to replace him? And Bild-Zeitung had a look at that and had a play around. And I guess they come up with some obvious options. One of which is Castello Luqueba, the player who was also coming onto the pitch when David Raum was taken off versus Heidenheim, and he replaced David Raum on the left-hand side. And I guess that's the obvious choice also for the Bild-Zeitung. But again, behind that, Benny Henrichs has played on this position before. And especially bearing in mind since Lucha Gertruda, the latest addition to our squad, was added to the team. He's kind of lost his spot on the right-hand side where he usually plays in the defense. So he would be a very good option as well. Marco Rose really appreciates that Benny Henrichs is able to play on each position there. So he can use him everywhere. So I guess Castello, Lukeba, then Benny Henrichs, if he's got no more back pain and it looks like he's going to be back into the squad. I'm not sure if he's going to be in the starting lineup. And also, they think Lukas Klostermann and Chad Bichiabu could be choices as well. But they do admit that Lukas Klostermann is used more on the right-hand side as a center back by Marco Rose. And Chad is still young, but I would love to see him play, to be honest. I would love to see him play because I get this Upamecano vibes. And I don't want to see Chad leaving RB Leipzig before he's not got the chance to develop into such a fine player like... Well, Upamecano is a good player, I'm sorry. You always had one or two situations in the match where you thought, oh my gosh, it's going to get dangerous, but then you had Pete, so nothing could go wrong. But I would like to see Chad getting more time on the pitch as well. So, there are men at work. Marco Rose is rebuilding the team. There's construction's under construction. So, let's look at our next trip. So, let's look at our next opponent.
Introducing our next opponent, their Gegnercheck.
It's Mainz again, isn't it?
It's Mainz again. Mainz again.
These are the tiny people, by the way.
The Mainzer Männchen. But the Mainzer Männchen from the German television, against RB Leipzig in the recent years, they were pretty much adult men, grown men and strong men, because RBL is going to see snapping the 4-game winless streak against Mainz. It's been a while since we last won. It was in January 2022.
Really?
And if I remember this correctly, no one saw it because it was during COVID season.
Yeah, could be.
So
it was one of those test matches.
One of those test matches. Empty stands, empty seats. Or maybe it was January 8th.
No, wait.
I don't think.
Did you say January 20?
Yeah.
Was it in Mainz?
No, it was at home.
Because I remember
it was home
match.
game. We won it 4-1 or 4-0. I'm sure. So we scored 4 times. That's why I remember. And I think,
it's been a while.
Yeah, and since that we 2 draws, 2 losses.
Remember one of them.
Home loss. I don't want to remember
dreadful
that again.
Game.
And of course this shameful was last season in an away game. Interestingly, Mainz started last season the same as they started now. They drew at home and home opener, then lost twice. And last season they lost 3 games in a row at home after they drew in the home opener and then won their first match against RBL. So they have 1 match to spare now, all right? So they lost 2 after the home opener draw. So you know what's the outcome will be. Numbers don't lie.
Richard, this sounds really desperate.
Well, honestly, I don't think that we have to be so concerned about the upcoming exercise at Mainz, because Mainz, in my opinion, isn't that bad offensively, but somehow is struggling defensively. If they wouldn't have had Robin Zentner, it would look much worse for them. So they started their season all equal, as they started with 2 wins, 2 losses, 2 draws. Funnily enough, they haven't won a home game yet. So I told you already, lost twice and 1 draw. But they scored 11 goals already, so they're above average. You told us a few minutes ago. Yeah.
More dangerous than we are, apparently.
But on the other hand side, they conceded 10. So it's much more an easier task scoring against Mainz than scoring against RBL, obviously. And 5 of their goals scored came by their shooting star, number 29, and the newest addition in Julian Nagelsmann's German national team squad. You know what I'm talking about? It's Jonathan, or as we call him here, Jonathan or Johnny Burkhardt, 24-year-old local hero. He was born at Darmstadt, but he plays for Mainz since the early youth.
Very good decision.
And,
very good decision.
And interestingly, he's yet to score at home. So 5 of the goals he scored all came at away games. So
he's not going to score.
Sign.
He's not going to score, is he? No, it's not very likely.
Obviously,
okay,
because
obviously.
he doesn't know how to do it. But honestly, it's a strong player. I love him. Love watching him play. He is so clever. He's so aware of situations. He is so busy. He's not that striker or that is just hanging around in the penalty box and waiting for the balls to come to him. No, he's the one that tries to create goal-creating actions, shooting-creating actions. He's all over the place in midfield, helping the team and creating offensive actions. And the captain of the squad. So, wow, a true leader at the age of 24. I think he is a bright future ahead of him, and I wouldn't be surprised if this would be the last season we're seeing him at Mainz, because obviously, sooner or later, in the next 5, 6, 7, 10 games, he will be too good for Mainz 05, and bigger clubs will come and try to sign him.
But how can we tame him if he's such a lethal force and such a lethal weapon? Well, obviously he's playing at home. He's not going to score.
Obviously, I think it's a kind of a player you just cannot stop over 90 minutes. Okay, so we don't play man coverage, so we have to be aware. And I do trust our defense. I do trust really Orban. Usually, he is very aware of the players who are most dangerous in their offense. So I think he's in good hands when really Orban takes care of him. And he will find a way to shut him down. I'm pretty sure about that. Another strong young gun I would like to mention is number 11, Mindo Sieb. He's also a young German guy. Started, he's played in every game so far this season for Mainz, and then he had to replace, I think, one of the Korean guys. I don't know which one of the Mainz squad was. And he started versus Augsburg and versus St. Pauli as well, and he did it quite remarkably good. Did a well job, scored twice, scored in every game, and made huge impact on that offense, and took a bit pressure off Johnny Burkhardt. So in this, although he doesn't play in the very first row, the Mainz plays a system where you have Burkhardt on paper is the spare arrow, so to speak, or the arrow spare. I don't know. Can I say this in English?
I'm not sure. I'm not a native speaker, so I'm just trying to find out. There is a typical English word for it. Yeah, okay. I know.
Yeah. So the very end of an arrow.
The English use it all the time in relation to Brexit.
It's been too long since you've been there. Obviously, you need to
well, never had anything to do with Brexit, obviously.
So you left early.
I left quick enough. And now we've given you Thomas Tuchel. Well done, guys. That's a Brexit win, by the way. Anyways, swiftly moving on.
Yeah. So Amanda Sieb, another rising star, although he's not on that level as Burkhardt is right now. But as a rising star, you have to keep an eye on him. But even more dangerous, I think, are 2 other players. Obviously, number 18, Nadlem Amiri, 27-year-old midfielder, former player of Leverkusen, the creative player, and in my opinion, the pivotal spot in their whole offense. This guy in midfield is so creative and has such a good vision, and he's not dangerous scoring by himself, but he's always is capable of finding his lads in dangerous positions, and he's quick. Take a look at the go-ahead goal versus St. Pauli, and was it 2-0? I'm not quite sure. He looked at the defender, blocked the shot, or blocked the pass, and then it took like 0.67 seconds, and he made a nice pass right into the path of, it was Sieb at that time. And with the very first touch, in the penalty box, he just put the ball into the back of the net. But this pass was so perfectly executed. So don't let him have too much space in the midfield, and generally, don't let Mainz play the counter-attack game. They know what to do.
Isn't that what we said last time? It's the same thing.
Yeah, it's always easy playing counter-attack games, because that's why I'm talking about that often. You know, it's much harder, and we see when our lads trying to do it, it's much harder playing the ball possession game than playing the counter-attack game. But some squads do it better than others, and Mainz is one of the better counter-attack game in the league. No, obviously better than Bremen.
Yeah.
So if you're saying, okay, Mainz is comparable to Bremen with in generally measure of strength, I think Mainz is very... It's one step ahead in that case, in that department. And the other one, the last one of the field players I would like to mention is number 2, the Austrian Philipp Werner. He's a left back, but I think it's more left winger. Yeah, because you usually don't find him with any defensive work. He's always offensive minded and capable of delivering strong crosses into the penalty box. And just like Amiri, he doesn't hesitate to do so. So we have to be aware that there will be lots of balls coming into our penalty box. And crosses high in the air or crosses just on top side of the turf. That is going to be a tough task for our defenders. Much harder task than it was versus Augsburg, no doubt. But on the other hand side, obviously, Mainz 05 does not really know what to do when they have the ball in the penalty box. Sounds funny, but they have the fewest number of total shots in the league. Only 60 shots. So we have just like 75 or something, and the league leaders, I think it's Leverkusen with 100 and something. So obviously they're shooting net dot not that often. They're trying to bring themselves in perfect shooting positions, and it's no wonder that they have scored 11 goals and that they have 0.3 something percent or 0.3 goals per shot on target. So because they're shooting almost always from inside the penalty box, and then only when it's really coming to a clear chance to score. I'm not quite sure if this is on purpose or accidentally or had something to do with the opponents they played so far, but it's quite remarkable. And another remarkable stat I would like to mention is the percentage of shots that came inside the 18-yard box. And it's something we can expect from that game. So because we have Mainz 05, 70% of shots against them came inside the penalty box. And on the RB Leipzig side, it was 68%. And it's the bottom of the league.
Shit.
It's rank 18 and rank 17. Any other squad don't let shooting their opponents from inside their own penalty box that often like those two teams. So, well,
it's going to be a heck of a game.
It could be a heck of a game. We're going to see a lot of penalty box action, though I do expect a low-scoring game as well, because we have two true showstoppers in goal. We talked about Pete Gulasci already, and I mentioned Robin Zentner. Oh my gosh, I don't remember well back this 0-0 draw when we played Mainz at home, because there was chances for 2 or 3 games, and Robin Zentner, I tip my hat to that. He was able to stop them all, and this season as well. He has 75% save percentage, which is number 3 in the league. Okay, we have Pete with 92%. It's the outlier, and he will come back to normal level. But I think in number 2 is Kevin Trapp, if I remember that correctly. But anyway, number 3 is Robin Zentner, and we have to be aware that he will show us another strong performance and that he won't make it easy scoring goals to our lads.
Okay, so we're going back to efficiency as well. So I know last time we talked about this, or when we remember the last match at Mainz, we were pressing high, we were keeping the ball, and it seems we never took any chances. We never converted any goal chances. But Mainz was looking for that counter attack, which they got eventually, and on 2 occasions they really hurt us. They scored twice. So Richard, do you expect similar style of game this year, or is it going to be different?
Nah, it's gonna be different. Simply because we have to replace a true cornerstone of our defense, and I'm quite curious how Coach Rose is trying to do that. A lot of work for the coaching staff during this week, figuring this out, how to solve this puzzle, and with that being said, there will be a little bit more instability in our squad in general, so that we won't be able to maintain the this short time of ball recovering. There was this nice stat. Maybe you saw it in the match versus Heidenheim. In the second half, we had in the first 15 minutes a ball recovery time of 4.7 seconds.
That's short. It's really short. It's
unbelievable.
Incredible.
Yeah. It is. And with doing so, usually you're doing good, keeping the ball in the own in your own rows. So I don't expect us to be able to perform like that, because I do expect Coach Rose, and I'd like to turn to the starting lineup, to change the system a little bit. Because what could we do with our position as left defender since David Raum is not around anymore? We have only, as far as I know, 2 left-footed guys in the roster. It's Lukeba and it's Bichebu. So you could do the maybe easy game and say, okay, Bichebu, come on, it's your chance. Show us what you got and go on the David Raum position. But if I was the coach, I think I do it slightly different, because I would like to add some more stability in the defense, since you have to bear in mind that Benny Henrich is very likely out, though there isn't an update yet on his injury, but he left the German national squad with the back injury, and even if he is healthy now,
he will be in the squad, but I don't think he's going to play from the beginning. I don't think so.
That's what I would like to point out, because if you're out of a full week of practice, you're not a true option for the starting lineup. So Raum not available and Henry's not available. So I would like to add some stability, and I would like to see our lads acting in a 3-5-2 position.
Liebe Fußballfans, wir kommen jetzt zu unserer heutigen Mannschaftsaufstellung.
I would like to send out, our lads in a 3-5-2 position. So 3 defenders, Redreder, Orban and Lukeba. And then some wild defensive midfield containing Haidara on the right side, Seiwald on the left side, and in the middle I would send out Baumgartner, because he already played some little more defensive-minded midfielder in his past. So, I do expect him to be able to doing this again. And then in the offensive midfield, Nusach and Xavi, of course, although Xavi didn't play that good, at least versus Germany, but that will be his turning point this season, no doubt. We will see the 2023-2024 Xavi sooner or later, and maybe this game will be the case. And in our very first striking department, of course, Mr. Goalbender and our Kopfball-Ungeheuer, Šeško.
Okay.
And I didn't mention the goalie.
We're playing without goalie.
Better not. So, but of course, Pete, Mr. 92% save percentage, Gulasci.
Wonderful. There's one more question I've got, apart from the score prediction, but, we haven't been great coming out of international breaks. Are we going to be coming out, hitting the ground running, or is it going to be slow start?
I think I mentioned it. I don't expect a peak performance. More a low key performance, but still better than Mainz is performing. And if you ask me what's the final score will be, I'm going with a 2-1 win.
I feel like a 3-1 win. I feel very optimistic. Don't ask me why. Maybe because we get some new players into the squad as well, and maybe they remember last time it was not so great. Wonderful. Keep our fingers crossed. Everyone else, this has been Pulse in Red. our RB Leipzig podcast from Leipzig to everyone who wants to listen, no matter where you are on this little planet. You can actually subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform if you think that is a nice one you want to listen to. And you can also leave us a comment on these platforms as well. Plus, you can contact us by email. The email address is podcast@bosenred.com. You can find us on Twitter. Or on X Twitter. We are, what are we? Podcast_RBL. And you can find us on Insta. The name is Bosenred. Our episodes feature on Apple, Spotify, and co. Also on YouTube. And once again, thank you for listening. We're going to be talking to you again pretty soon. We're going to do a brief episode at the beginning of the week ahead of our clash with the Scousers, the very traditional club. Company controlled, investor controlled, by the way, you romantics out there. Liverpool FC, without the normal one, because he's going to join the dark side. And he's also on holiday, right?
But now I go back on holiday. See you in January.
As I said before, that's all right, Jürgen. We can do without you until then. So thanks again for listening, and everyone, have yourselves a great weekend. Keep your fingers crossed, and we'll talk to you soon at the beginning of next week. This has been Bosenred. And all we need to say now is, vielen Dank, Richard, das hat wirklich wieder Spaß gemacht. I'm going to shorten that, and auf geht's, Leipziger Jungs.